So before we continue, I want to let you know those videos we made them just to share with you the knowledge or what we learned from installing and removing parts. So I want you to subscribe to the channel right now. Click on the bell notification to get all the videos on time and leave your question. We're gonna respond to them just after this video. So how we're gonna work on it, guys. So we're gonna do a valve cover, valve cover. Remember the last time I told you, whenever I'm replacing a valve cover gasket on those Nissan, is in Altima or Nissan Rogue. So I always prefer than replacing the actual valve cover, because the seal that's on the tube seal right here on the coil, so they're not serviceable. Then you're gonna have to replace the whole thing. So we can see it's really dirty. We got oil everywhere. What I'm gonna do, I'm gonna see if I can give it a nice clean before I even start working on it. So what I'm using the Awesome. These you can buy them at the dollar store, the Family Dollar, or Dollar General, I don't know, but usually I always get them from Family Dollar. So we got oil everywhere on this thing, everywhere. I'm gonna give it a nice clean with my pressure washer, and we'll go from there. After a nice clean, so as you can see, so we're gonna start removing parts, but it's the same procedure like the Nissan Rogue. The only difference is on the Nissan Rogue is the intake that's a little bit up right there. That's going to give you a problem for one of the bolts. But after that, on the Altima, it's a little bit different. You don't have the intake too high over here. But after that, it's going to be the same procedure for the front motor mount and all those wires. So it's pretty much the same procedure. Thing first, guys, we're going to remove those 210. That's holding those ground. I like placing the bolt back at the same place I took it off, just in case, then you don't lose any bolts. Alright, and after that we're gonna use a clip puller to pull this wire harness up. So we're gonna start disconnect all the ignition coils. We're gonna disconnect all of them, and we're gonna disconnect this. All right, so right there, I'm just gonna use needle pliers to pull this harness out. I already have the harness out of my way. Now the next step gonna be those hoses. I'm gonna take those hoses out of my way. And I also got this one. They got the hose out of my way, the hoses. Now I'm gonna try to pull this harness out of my way. There you go. I got this one, and then they got another one that's holding it right here too. Let me see if you can see it. All right there. Now I already got everything clear out of my way. So the next step gonna be the ignition coil right now. Another thing that I like doing, placing the ignition coil. You can see all the oils. Placing the ignition coil that way. At least we can put them at the same place. Alright, so the two first cylinders, they got a lot of oil in them. As you can see, that's the reason why I always replace the whole valve cover, besides just replacing the gasket on this car. Alright, so the next step, I'm going to suck this oil out before I go farther. I pretty much sucks all the fluid, all the oil that was inside of the spark plug. So I take them out. So now the next step is gonna be a jack. I'm gonna use a jack to under the engine to jack up the engine. So before we start removing this bracket right here. Alright, with a piece of wood like that, I'm gonna go all the way down from the bottom of the engine
gonna make sure it sits under the oil pan. Alright, like that. And now I'm gonna chop up the engine. Make sure. Alright, and jack it up to hold the engine. So now we're gonna start removing those four bolts. Alright, they are 16mm. I'm gonna use a 16mm socket. Take all of them out. This one right here, it's a 18mm nut. We're gonna have to take off. Let me take all those out. I will take the 18mm nut that's holding the bracket on the top. So I get this bracket out of my way. I place it right here. So now the next step gonna be this 10mm nut that's holding the coolant reservoir. We're gonna take it out. We're gonna take this 10 out. We can flip it on this side. Get that out. Alright, I can flip it all the way here. So we got these 18 bolts right here that's holding the side mount, and we got all those 14 bolts out. Alright. Now it's time to pull this upper bracket out. So now, as you can see guys, we got everything clear. We're just gonna have to take all those 10mm bolts out to take the cover out. Okay. So I'm gonna fish all the bolts out. Alright, I would fish all the bolts out. I think now our cover is ready to come out. So it's ready to come out. Cover is already out, but this is trash. We're not gonna use it. We're just gonna throw it away. Now, all you gotta do is start giving it a nice clean. Give it a nice clean. Make sure the surface is nice and clean before we install the new one. Alright, so I give that a nice clean. So now we're ready to install the new cover. Alright, we're gonna install the new cover. Alright guys, so that's the new cover. So we already got the surface ready, very clean. That's the new cover. And we get it from Cold Air Airport. That's the part number on it. Alright, it's a generous part. Alright, so now we're gonna put this seal in it and put everything back together. So we got the new gasket set in this. So what we're gonna do now is just in place. Alright, so now do is just place the bolt. Alright, I'm gonna place all the bolt and we'll go from there. Pretty much everything nice and set. So now what we're gonna do, we're gonna put this back the way they were supposed to be, as you can see. So the hose that wasn't there, that was damaged, and we have to change it, put another one in there. So after that, we're gonna install the ignition coil right now. So we already got the ignition coil back in. All we gotta do is just start them. Not that much. Set. And then now, next step is plugging the coils back in. Got everything back in. Going back in. We got this plug going back in. And now what we gotta do, gonna have this hose going back in. Now, next step gonna be this cover right here. So I'm gonna try to clean it a little bit and put it back in. Now the next step gonna be this bracket. I'm gonna put this bracket right in place. We already got the full bolt that's holding the bracket, the mount bracket. I'm just gonna tighten them. I forgot the 14mm bolt. That's it. Now, before we go further, I'm gonna try to install this one right here, and it's gonna be this 18mm bolt. Here. Alright, so zip tight. So now the last step gonna be this mount right here. Got an 18 nuts that goes on the top of here. Got the nut back in, and got this long bolt that goes on the side right here. And we also have those three. I put this on the door by. Oh shit. Now we're gonna use a 16 socket to tighten that down. Wait till you last one is the 18. I'll type the 18. So we're pretty much good to go. The last step gonna be this reservoir. Gonna bring it back to its place. Right here. Place the 10 back. Alright. So now I'm gonna put those two ground back in. Right. Alright, so pretty much all set, guys. So now what I gotta do is just put this cover back in, but before I put the cover back in, I'm gonna start the car and inspect around of the cover to make sure it's not leaking before I put the cover back in. Alright, let's get the car running. So I'm gonna inspect around of here to make sure that we don't have anything at all. Any oil leak. Baik saya babu na baik saya. Alright guys, so now putting the cover back in after inspecting it. No leaks. Put this back in. I always like cutting those with hands, not with tools, because at the end of the day they're gonna be very tight. Alright, so now we're gonna lift up the car and wash the bottom of the engine, guys. Alright, see you in the next video.